How lucky do you think you are? Whenever I'm asked that question, I always respond with, I'm pretty lucky. Pretty lucky. In a majority of things in my life. I consider myself lucky for a lot of things that have happened in my life, but also just speaking a little bit more on the baseline of the term, when it comes to games of chance, I'm very lucky. And so, playing Dungeons & Dragons and TTRPGs in general, I managed to do a lot of the things I want to do, much to my players' dismay. But with it being a dreary, cold day outside here, I was left with a lot of time on my hands, and when I have a lot of time on my hands, I get into trouble. And so, I decided to put to the test how lucky I actually was. I had this whole big plan to create a time-lapse thing where I'd talk over the story and walk you through the process and what I was thinking step by step, but I took a time-lapse of it rather than taking a regular video of it, and time-lapses take like, as far as I could tell, a frame a second, maybe. So, it is highly unusable in those terms, but I will put it at the end of this video in case you want to see my evidence. Nonetheless, you can see every roll that I had, so you can check my facts on this. I compiled the evidence and decided to try and set forth, alright, I want to test how lucky I am, therefore, I'm going to roll a d20. This d20, specifically. There's nothing really special about this. It's the d20 that Critical Role put out. It's the Caleb dice set d20. It's my favorite d20, for a myriad of reasons, but I really like the color and the design. My original method for testing this was to see, alright, I'm going to roll this d20 until I either get 5 natural ones or 5 natural 20s. And depending on which one I get first, either the natural ones or the natural 20s, will determine how lucky I am. But I also had this stipulation where if I got it in 100 tries, 5 is 1/20th of 100, then it would just be chance. Luck doesn't exist. You know, would come to that conclusion. But depending on how fast or how slow I got it would depend if I was luckier or not lucky. And so I began the arduous journey of beginning to roll. And just to give you a hint at my data set, this is what it looks like. I know it looks like madman scrawlings, but I promise you there is a method to my madness. But I can't help but look at this and think, Mason, the numbers, what do they mean? But that looks like a lot of numbers, right? So you can probably guess that I didn't stop when I hit 5. Going about it, the first number I rolled was a 19, which I thought, great start, absolutely. Off with a bang. A 19, one off from 20, this is gonna be a piece of cake. And it wasn't until 7 rolls later that I actually got one of the numbers I was looking for. A natural 1. But it was immediately followed by a 20. And it followed that pattern of getting a natural 1 and then a natural 20 all the way through to my despair. I got 5 natural 1s first before I got 5 natural 20s. But when I got the 5 natural 1s, I only got 4 natural 20s at that point in time. So pretty even spread there. The issue was I got those numbers at 80 rolls, which I'm like, that's not enough data. So I kept on going and going and going and going until I got 10 natural 1s. Yes, natural 1s. I hit the natural 1s again as well. But then I also noticed that I hit the 10 natural 1s. I initially hit the 5 natural 1s at 80. I hit the 10 natural 1s at 115 rolls. Exactly. I got really weird even numbers in this. That's another thing to be dissected. But nonetheless, it's interesting how close I doubled the number of natural 1s after I got my initial goal. And then I still had time on my hands and still wanted to keep on going, and so I kept on going until I got 10 natural 20s. When I was calculating this data afterwards, I figured out I did not get 10 natural 20s, I got 9 natural 20s. I don't know where the 10th tally mark came from. But nonetheless, I stopped after 234 rolls total. 234 rolls. So, here is the spread of my dice rolling. It's a dot chart, as you can see, it's kind of all over the place. But over 234 rolls, this is what the data looks like. Another interesting chart that I will show you is this chart right here. This is the pain that I felt in my arm and shoulder through this entire experiment, which, by the way, took about 30 minutes. So, starting off, you know, going up, it's like not too bad, you know, you get a little bit of soreness in there, and then at 5, it kind of bumped up a little bit, you know, but I kept on going, it's fine, you kept on going. Around 10, it started to really ramp up a little bit, and then at 15, it hit 11, right? It was staying at 11 for a while, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not sure if I can do this anymore, and then it just kind of went numb. right? It went completely numb. And then right around the 30-minute mark, did it pop up again to about 9. And then I had to do stretches and things like that. But if you plan on recreating this experiment, please stretch your arm, take the time, take the rest. You don't need to go all the way through. I was just on a spree. We had some interesting things pop up in this as well. As you can see in this pie chart right here. This is the spread of 1 through 20, how many times each one was rolled. Now, if we look at this purely through a probability standpoint, you should have rolled, over 234 times divided by 20. You should have rolled each one about like 10 times. Something like that, a little bit more. My math is off right now. Probably somewhere actually around 17 times. A little less than 17 times, but we can't half roll things, but I digress. Nonetheless, we had an interesting occurrence where the most common number I rolled was actually 6 at 25 times. The second most common number I rolled was 9 at 19 times. And the third most common number I rolled was 1 at 18 times. And so, if we purely took that data with the original hypothesis that we set out for, I would come to the conclusion that I am unlucky, which is a blow to my ego and self-image and, oh, woe is me. I don't care all that much. It makes the game more interesting. Really, when it comes down to it, which one is more interesting, a natural 1 or a natural 20? It is extremely debatable, because usually a natural 1 has dire circumstances and throws a little hook into the plot of the story, but natural 20s can also be the pivotal moment that changes it. Or, it could mean the difference between busting a door off its hinges and running face first into it, which is hilarious, in my opinion. Bringing it further, what other conclusions can we draw from this? One thing we can definitely draw, for sure, is that I am extremely neurodivergent. Oh, ungodly neurodivergent. I could show a doctor this data set right now, and they would diagnose me on the spot. Kind of a confirmation of that. But nonetheless, going further into this, as I was inputting the data into the spreadsheets and the graph creators and things like that, I did notice a few other things. And also in my time with rolling, I kept track of certain patterns that emerged. And so in my home game, whenever I play, whenever you roll 2 numbers back to back, I call that a fixed point in time, right? It is an extremely low probability that you're going to get those numbers back to back in the same time. In technical terms, it's 1 in a 400 chance. With that, I rolled 15 fixed points in time, which means 15 times I rolled a number and then rolled it again and got the exact same number. I wasn't trying to do that at all. I was simply just trying to roll it as naturally as I could, but I still managed to do it sometimes. Within those 15 fixed points in times, though, I had 1 double fixed point in time. I haven't ever seen this before, personally seen this in person, but at one point in time, I rolled 3 9s back to back to back, which again, just creating the probability of that is a 1 in 8,000 chance that happens, purely from a probability standpoint. To put this into perspective for you, you have a better chance to be born with 11 fingers and 11 toes, you have a better chance to be drafted into the NBA or WNBA, and you have a better chance of falling to your death. And also, just to put this into perspective, falling to your death is way more of a probability than I thought it was. It's actually, you have a better chance of falling to your death than you have of rolling 2 numbers on the D20 back to back. 1 in 146. Interesting, right? Nonetheless, another thing that I saw was 3 times I either rolled a natural 1 and then a natural 20 back to back, or vice versa, so natural 20 or natural 1, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't think that would happen that often, but then again, just from a probability standpoint, anything is possible, I guess. They have the same amount of probability, but seeing the spread we have here, it's really interesting that those happen back to back. We can draw the conclusion that I myself am unlucky. Other conclusions we could make is that I have an uneven dice, that it is not actually perfectly well balanced. I mean, the old saying is the only fair dice you'll ever roll are the dice in the casino. But nonetheless, even with manufacturing inaccuracies or malfunctions of the product and sort, it should be, for the most part, fair. It should be, for the most part, fair. But also, you can look at it from a perspective of, I rolled 18 ones and 9 natural 20s, right? If I was playing golf, that would be a pretty good score, especially given that my 3 most rolled numbers were less than 10. If I was playing something like Call of Cthulhu, where the goal is to get the lowest number possible, I'd be flying high. So that also plays into it. Just to put the data out there, I rolled less than 10 123 times, and I rolled more than 10, so 11 and up, 111 times. So take with that data what you will. Also take into account that I rolled those fixed points and times and those back-to-back 20s and 1s multiple times. If I was going for that, I'd consider that pretty lucky as well. Which brings into the idea of manifestation, if you will. Like, if you think about the thing that you want to roll, that you'll roll it, which that could possibly play into it, but there's no real way to quantify that unless tomorrow some great old one emerges from the sea and unlocks our brains on how to manipulate and calculate probability for your own personal gain. Given the state of the world nowadays, I would not be surprised if that happened, but that's not really, you can't really guess that, right? Also, again, I can't exactly show you at the moment, but in the middle of it, I thought about the manifestation thing, and the second I thought about it, I said, okay, this next one's gonna be a natural 20, and I rolled it, and I got a natural 20. Like, I've never Babe Ruthed my roll in D&D before, and it was sick. And unfortunately, I was alone in my apartment when that happened, so can't celebrate too much. But I'm sharing with you, so celebrate with me. So that's basically the conclusion we can draw from this, is, yeah, it's mostly even. Granted, there were some variables here and there that might have been in the way I was rolling it, or the inaccuracies in the dice mold, or something like that. I am of the full opinion that if you believe in something, it exists, you know? I mean, how do you think religion works? I'm not religious, per se. I have my own special practices that I do, but I'm not religious per se. But I was taught in a sociology class that if everybody pretends that there's an invisible table in the room and everybody walks around it and nobody steps in the place where that invisible table exists, then in all technicality that table exists, doesn't it? Because it's taking up space. When it comes to luck, whether you think you're lucky or unlucky, whether you're Will Wheatoning this shit or you are blessed by the dice gods, I think intention plays a good part in it. Because I ended this experiment so quickly because my arm started hurting. And I wanted it to end. And so, with the manifestation of everything and luck and whatever other mojo you believe in, I think manifestation plays a big part in it. I believe you can make your own luck in this world, in D&D and other things. Granted, there are some things that you may have grown up with or were born with or something like that that'll set you back, but you can truly do anything you want to do in this world. Luck is one of those things. Generate your own luck. And so, when I say that I'm lucky, I am lucky. So many things in my life have been caused due to luck. But a lot of that luck has came from working hard. And maybe this is just me patting myself on the back. But, I don't know. I've never really thought that I've worked hard enough in my life. And I'm coming to the realization that I have. I have worked really hard in my life. And I've created my own luck. So whether it's manifestation or you'd like to leave it up to probability and that was just the spread that we got, draw whatever conclusions you'd like. I implore you, try this experiment out by yourself. If you got 30 minutes to kill on a dreary, rainy day. And also, let me know if you like these types of videos. I really enjoy doing them. I like doing science things and doing experiments like this. Let me know what other dice you'd like. I've been thinking about what's the actual probability spread on a spin down counter for Magic the Gathering. We can probably do that at a later video. But thank you so much for watching this. I greatly appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe and hang out, because we've got so many more videos coming out in the future. Check out the other videos on my channel. I've got a Reddit series that I do other D&D and TTRPG related stuff. I would like to grow this into a community. So if you could tell people about this channel and spread it around, that would be greatly appreciated. Down in the comments, please let me know what was your best natural 1 or best natural 20. Take that however you would like, but I'd love to hear about those stories. Be on the lookout for more videos in the future. But until that time, I will say Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, and I will catch you in the next one.